The universe seemed at peace. But the silence was deceiving. 6 months had passed since the fall of the Hegemony. Human ships patrolled the edges of the galaxy, ensuring no remnant of the old species would ever threaten again. The name humanity was now spoken with reverence and fear. Across every station, every surviving colony, one phrase echoed, "They tried peace," and showed what happens when it fails. But in the depths of space, far from any mapped route, something was moving. At Station Prometheus, General Marcus Chen studied the hologram before him. Blue dots marked human fleets. Red ones, the devastated worlds of the Hegemony. But now there was something new. A black stain growing on the edge of the map where even the sensors could barely see. The communications officer broke the silence. "Sir, the signal is back." Marcus lifted his gaze. "Same pattern?" "Yes, sir." "Unknown origin. No known language. The frequency shifts at perfect intervals. It's as if it were deliberate." The general crossed his arms, staring into space. Deliberate. That word weighed heavily. "Play the audio." The sound that filled the room was low, yet strange. It seemed like a voice, or perhaps many, repeating something in cycles. A language that existed in no fleet archive. A message coming from a point in space where light itself took 1,000 years to arrive. Marcus stared at the waveforms projected in the air. "That's not static," he said. "It's structure. Someone is speaking to us." His aide hesitated. "Or watching us." Meanwhile, in the Earth reconstruction sector, Captain Elise Moreau, commander of the Restoration Fleet, walked among the ruins of the old American continent. The city still smoked, but new energy domes were rising on the horizon. Humanity was beginning to come home. She watched a group of children planting the first seeds in the new ecological base. For a moment, she felt pride. Then her wrist communicator vibrated. "Captain, this is Command Prometheus." "Direct order from General Chen. Return to the fleet immediately." Elise frowned. "I'm on a humanitarian mission." "What's the priority?" "Alpha level. We've detected a contact." Her blood ran cold. "Contact." The word no human wanted to hear since the end of the war. Hours later, Elise entered the Prometheus command room. Marcus was waiting. "Welcome back, Captain. I hope this call is worth my absence from Earth, sir." Her voice was firm, though curious. Marcus expanded the hologram. "Look, the black stain pulsed on the map like a living heart. We thought it was interference, but it's moving." Slowly toward human borders, Elise studied the data. "Estimated size?" The operator replied, "Variable. It oscillates between 100 and 1,000 kilometers, but we can't define shape. It's as if it's changing." Marcus clasped his hands. "When we defeated the Hegemony, we thought we were alone, that we had shown the universe what it means to be human." He stared at the void projected before him. But maybe the universe heard and decided to respond. 3 days later, the human fleet departed. 50 black ships crossed the stars in perfect formation. Destination, the point of origin of the signal. Aboard the battleship Humanity's Wrath, Elise watched the monitors. The space ahead seemed calm, but the sensors went mad. Gravitational waves, light distortions, magnetic pulses that defied every known law. "Incredible," murmured one of the scientists. "It's as if reality itself is breathing." The phrase hung in the air. Suddenly, the bridge lights flickered. The sound vanished. Everything fell silent. And then a whisper crossed the speakers. Not a noise, a voice. "You destroyed those who spoke for us. The crew froze." Elise looked toward Marcus, who was monitoring from his ship. "Repetition confirmed," said the technician. "Same structure as the original signal. They're answering us." Marcus was silent for long seconds. Then he said, "Transmit back. First contact code. Tell them we do not seek war." The technician hesitated. "Sir, they used the phrase, 'you destroyed.'" Marcus stared into the void. "Transmit." Anyway, the reply came before the human message even finished. The stars around the fleet flickered. Not metaphorically. They literally disappeared for a second. And when they returned, something was there. Enormous. Impossible. A colossal structure, so dark it seemed to absorb the light of the stars. No known metal reflected that way. It was like staring into a hole in space itself. The human radar could not define its boundaries. It was larger than any vessel ever built by mortal hands. A voice echoed again. "You have broken the balance. Now silence must return." And then the entire system died. Hours later, Marcus Chen regained consciousness. The bridge was shattered, emergency lights flickering. Communications were down. 12 ships gone. Humanity's wrath without power. Elise appeared on the emergency screen, her face streaked with soot. "General, what was that?" We detected no weapons, yet half the fleet vanished. Marcus clenched his jaw. "Those weren't weapons. It was something that doesn't understand time the way we do." She tried to respond. "Sir, if that thing is hostile..." "If?" Marcus interrupted. "Elise, they opened the stars. That isn't a species. It's an event." The silence that followed felt alive. Marcus drew a slow breath. "Maximum priority order. All human fleets fall back to the borders." "And what about the thing?" Elise asked. "It hasn't moved. Yet. But it's looking at us." She stared, not understanding. "Looking?" "Yes," he said. "Because something out there just learned what humanity is." At the edge of the universe, the void pulsed again. And for the first time since the end of the war, the sound of silence felt threatening. Space was silent. A silence that seemed to breathe. Human ships floated among the burning debris of battle. Whatever had happened wasn't an explosion, nor any form of conventional energy. It was something that tore through space as if the universe itself were trying to repair the wound. On the bridge of humanity's wrath, Marcus Chen stared into the darkness. His face was lit by the flickering glow of the consoles. Behind him, the sound of failing generators pulsed like dying heartbeats. "Report." His voice was steady but hoarse. The operator replied without lifting his gaze. 15 ships missing, sir. No wreckage, no escape pods. It's as if they were erased." Marcus leaned forward. "Erased?" "Yes, sir. Not even the quantum sensors detect residue." The silence on the bridge grew heavy. Erased. The word sounded far more terrifying than destroyed. "And the contact?" The technician hesitated before answering. "Still there, sir. But it changes every time we look." "Changes how?" The man swallowed hard. "It's like the act of observing makes it shift shape, as if it reacts to our attention." Marcus didn't respond. He just stared at the monitor and felt, with absolute certainty, that something on the other side was staring back. Hours later, the Ghost Fleet retreated to Helion Prime, the secret human base hidden in the asteroid belt. It was invisible even to the Hegemony's old satellites. Now it had become the heart of humanity's survival. In the command hall, holograms shimmered over the war table. Admiral Morrison, General Hayes, Elise Moreau, and other leaders appeared via secure transmission. Marcus projected the signal his fleet had recorded, a deep, almost organic sound repeating at perfect intervals. When converted into image, it formed a vibrating spiral. "This is what we heard," said Marcus. "But when we transformed it into a visual structure, we found a recurring pattern." "What does it say?" asked Morrison. "A single phrase," Marcus replied. "Silence must return." Hayes frowned. "Return? That implies silence was broken." "Exactly." Marcus pointed at the hologram. "Maybe to them we're the break. The noise." Elise, silent until then, spoke. "Then what we're facing isn't a species. It's a principle." Marcus nodded. "And principles can't be defeated with weapons." At Helion Prime, tension spread like static. The voices of engineers mixed with rumors. It was an ancient weapon. It was the universe reacting. Its punishment from the dead. Marcus knew fear was spreading like a virus. That night, he gathered the entire crew in the main hangar. Thousands of tired faces, covered in soot and hope. He climbed onto a platform and began to speak. "During the war, we thought we understood the universe. There was good and evil, life and death. But today we learned there's something beyond that. Something that sees no difference between the two." Silence spread among the soldiers. Marcus continued. "When we destroyed the hegemony, we thought silence meant peace. But maybe silence is punishment? Maybe the universe is trying to quiet us." He paused, scanning the crowd. "But we didn't come this far to disappear. If silence comes, we'll do what we've always done. We'll scream." The words echoed through the hangar, turning fear into fire. And for a moment, humans believed again. 3 days later, the fleet departed. This time in complete secrecy. No external transmissions. No trace. Humanity's wrath led the formation. Elise Moreau stood beside Marcus on the bridge when the radar picked up something. "Sir, the point vanished." "Vanished?" "No." She increased resolution. "It's spreading." The holographic map showed a black mist slowly growing between systems, like a living stain, as if space itself were being rewritten. "General, that's not a ship." "I know," said Marcus. "It's space transforming." The sensors began sounding alarms. Planets shifted orbits. Gravitational waves distorted nearby stars. And then, a voice cut through every channel. "Silence does not destroy. Silence heals. Noise creates pain. You are the noise." The voice was cold, yet familiar. Half human, half something indescribable. Elise looked at Marcus. "They're calling us noise." "No." His eyes locked on the void. "They're calling us a disease." Before anyone could respond, another message appeared. Short, chilling, "Earth still speaks." Marcus froze. He turned to the operator. "What did it say?" "My sir, the transmission mentioned Earth. There are no active communications from Earth." "Then they're hearing it from somewhere else." Elise stepped closer, or from inside it. Marcus hesitated for a moment. Then he ordered, "Set course for the solar system." The journey took 3 days. Throughout it, the sensors recorded constant anomalies. Space itself seemed warped. Stars blinked out of rhythm. And sometimes, when someone stared too long out the window, they swore something stared back. When the fleet finally emerged in Earth's orbit, the planet was unrecognizable. A shadow covered half its surface. Not smoke, not clouds. Movement, geometric waves rippled through the atmosphere as if the very air were alive. Each pulse released energy strong enough to knock out half of humanity's systems. Elise gazed through the viewport, transfixed.
"General,
"Is this what's left from the war?" Marcus answered quietly. "No." He pointed toward the globe below. "This is what came after it." Earth pulsed, as if trying to speak, and then the sound came. You opened the universe with screams. Now silence will come to close it. The communications cut out. The bridge plunged into total darkness. Marcus looked down at the planet and whispered, "Silence has learned to speak." The planet was alive, but not as before. From orbit, Earth seemed to breathe. Waves of energy ran across its surface, crossing continents like luminous veins. The clouds turned in perfect spirals, following an invisible pattern. And from time to time, a vibration swept through the air, a sound so low it was felt more than heard. A murmur, a whisper. Humanity's wrath orbited in silence. The crew watched the planet, struggling to believe what they saw. "This can't be natural," said Elise Moreau, her voice hoarse. "It's not," replied Marcus Chen. "It's a response." He turned to the operator. "Any signal from the surface?" "Yes, sir." The man typed rapidly. "Same pattern as the original signal. Variable frequency but constant rhythm." Elise stepped closer. "You're saying Earth is transmitting?" "Not Earth," Marcus corrected. "Something inside it." On the surface, in one of the reconstruction zones of the old European territory, civilians began to notice the strange phenomenon. Machines stopped working. Radios picked up voices in languages no one knew. And at night, the wind whispered the names of the dead. A child, born after the war, looked up at the sky filled with lights. "Mom, are the stars talking?" The woman held her tightly, not knowing how to answer. At the lunar base, General Hayes watched the data in silence. The monitors flickered as if energy itself were twisting. "We're receiving transmissions directly from the Earth's crust," said the technician. "Electromagnetic pulses, but if we translate them as sound." "As sound what?" asked Hayes. The man hesitated. "It sounds like a human voice." "Thousands of them." Blended together, Hayes leaned over the console. The sound filled the room's speakers. A chorus whispering in unison. "Silence heals. Silence returns. Silence is home." The general drew a deep breath. "Send everything to Prometheus, now." Hours later, Marcus received the transmission. The bridge went silent as the voices filled the air. They weren't hostile. They didn't scream. They simply called, "We were here before you. You awakened the sound. The sound hurts us." Marcus stared at the display. "They're saying sound us is a wound. Elise spoke quietly. And silence is the cure. He nodded. Exactly. They don't want to destroy. They want to restore the universe to its original form, before life. The words hung in the air like a verdict. Meanwhile, beneath the ruins of old North America, human scientists studied fragments of energy emanating from the ground. The instruments registered impossibilities, variations in mass, reversed temporal pulses. Until one of them, Dr. Ava Nakara, noticed something. This isn't just energy. She adjusted the sensors. These are information patterns. It's language. Her assistant stared at her, frightened. Language from whom? Ava watched the monitor, fascinated. From the planet. She activated the decoder, and the result froze the entire lab. The pattern formed into human characters. Words. Simple. Direct. You didn't listen. The doctor stood frozen. And before she could react, the ground shook. From orbit, Elise saw lines of light igniting across Earth's surface. They looked like auroras but moved far too quickly. And then, the fleet's communications began to fail. "General, we're losing signal from the moon," shouted the operator. Marcus clenched his teeth. "Increase power output." "It's no use, sir. The waves are reflecting." "From the planet itself." A flash cut across the atmosphere. Navigation systems went dark. For an instant, time seemed to stop. Then, a voice, clear, feminine, human, echoed inside everyone's minds. "We warned you!" Marcus staggered, holding his head. Elise pressed her hands to her ears, unsure whether the sound came from outside or within. "You screamed into the void." And the void learned to scream back. The bridge lights returned. The planet was still there, but now, the oceans moved in geometric patterns. And the sound came from everywhere. At the lunar base, Hayes watched the sensors spiral out of control. Lines of energy rose from Earth's surface into space. "General, it's like the entire planet is responding." Hayes breathed heavily. Responding to who? The answer came seconds later as the galactic map began to change. The black stain that had once been static was now moving toward Earth. Hayes opened the priority channel. "Marcus, they're coming for you." His voice broke through interference. "It's not just them. It's silence itself." And then the signal cut out. Humanity's wrath shook violently. Gravity failed. The ship spun, struck by an invisible wave. On the monitors, space twisted like liquid glass. And for a brief instant, Marcus saw something. A colossal form within the void. Not solid. Not alive. But nowhere. An ancient presence watching with terrifying calm. You tried peace. And when it failed, you chose noise. Now noise has chosen you. The voice vanished. The planet flared in blinding light. And then everything turned white. When Marcus regained consciousness, the silence was absolute. The consoles were dark. The bodies still. But outside, the planet glowed with a soft blue light. The shadow was gone. Elise, wounded, opened her eyes. "What happened?" Marcus rose slowly. "I think..." It stopped. But deep down he knew. Nothing had stopped. The calm was only the prelude to what would come next. On the main panel, a single signal blinked. An audio file from Earth. He pressed play. Chen Wei's voice, the sister he believed long dead, echoed through the bridge. "Marcus, they don't want to destroy. They want to remember. Earth is not just what remains. It's what has awakened." Silence speaks through it now. The recording ended. Marcus stood motionless, staring into the void. Elise approached. "Sir, that can't be real. She died." Marcus didn't answer. He just looked down at the planet and whispered, "Or maybe she never left." Meanwhile, in the ruins of old New York, a little girl walked among the rubble. The sky was clear. The air calm. She knelt, pressed her ear to the ground, and smiled. "Mom, Earth is singing." And deep within the planet, the sound continued. Gentle, steady, endless. The sound of something that had awakened. The sound of a world beginning to remember what it truly was. The planet was quiet. Too quiet. Earth, which hours before had pulsed with living energy, now seemed asleep. But the silence wasn't empty. It was expectant, as if the whole world were holding its breath. Humanity's wrath floated in low orbit, wounded, broken, yet still standing. The bridge was cloaked in shadow. The only light came from the blue sphere below. Marcus Chen watched in silence. Elise Moreau stood beside him, her face pale under the dim glow of the panels. "Have the sensors come back online?" he asked. Partially, sir. But the data... She hesitated. It's impossible. Explain. The planet's core is emitting quantum energy pulses. With each beat, it changes, as if Earth is rewriting its own structure. Marcus frowned. And what is it writing? Elise stared at the screen. Us. Hours later, the remaining fleet gathered around Earth. Messages came in from distant colonies. Interference, power failures, echoes of the same signal pattern. The silence was spreading. Marcus convened an emergency council. The holograms of Morrison, Hayes, and Ava Kara, the scientist who had deciphered the first message, shimmered above the war table. Ava began. General, the pattern remains unchanged. The pulse emitted by Earth's core isn't random. It's a sequence. Marcus leaned forward. A language? Something more. A genetic code. Morrison frowned. Genetic. Yes, the Earth is modifying the biological fields of everything living on it, including us. Hayes crossed his arms. You're saying the planet is changing us? Ava nodded, slowly, and with purpose. Marcus looked at the blue globe rotating before them. And that purpose? Ava hesitated. I think it's trying to make us part of itself. The silence that followed was almost physical. No one breathed. At the lunar base, scientists confirmed the anomaly. Human DNA was undergoing micro-alterations, not destructive mutations, coordinated, precise, orchestrated. The human body had begun producing new proteins, adapting to a form of communication that wasn't verbal but vibrational. They're tuning us, one technician said, but no one knew who they were. Meanwhile, on the surface, everything changed. Forests grew at impossible speed. Rivers shifted course, forming symbols visible from orbit. The skies projected lights that moved in mathematical patterns. Humanity watched, powerless, as the planet transformed into something new. In a transmission intercepted by Prometheus, Marcus heard a farmer sobbing. Earth is answering me, I thought, and it answered. I asked for rain, and the sky cried. Marcus turned off the audio. He looked at Elise. That's communication. No, she replied. That's symbiosis. In Prometheus's main laboratory, Ava studied the quantum pulses from the core. Each pulse had a different frequency, but aligned together they formed a harmony, a musical structure. She listened, and tears filled her eyes. My God, she whispered. It's a song. She recorded the sound and sent it to the fleet. When the music filled humanity's wrath, everyone stopped. It was beautiful, painful, an ancient lament, as if the planet were mourning everything it had lost. Elise spoke softly. It sounds human. Marcus closed his eyes. Or maybe it's we who have always sounded like her? Suddenly, an alarm blared. The radar picked up something colossal approaching the solar system. The distant space was bending. The silence was returning. Hayes transmitted from Luna. General, the anomaly is 6 astronomical units away. Its size is incomprehensible. Define incomprehensible. It's larger than Jupiter. Marcus exhaled slowly. Time to Earth system? 24 hours. Morrison's voice broke through the channel. And when it arrives, what do we do? Marcus looked again at the planet. Maybe the answer isn't to fight. Elise stared at him. You're suggesting what? That maybe the planet isn't preparing to destroy, but to receive. The following hours were pure tension. While the fleet prepared, Earth continued to pulse, stronger each time. The sound echoed through space, audible even outside the hulls, a heartbeat made of energy, not sound. Sensors showed the planet's gravitational field vibrating in resonance with the approaching entity. It was as if the two were recognizing each other. Elise watched the hologram, stunned. General, what if Earth is part of them? Marcus answered quietly. Or if they are part of her? When the silence arrived, space folded. The stars around the solar system vanished for several seconds. Then, in absolute darkness, it appeared, a structure made of light and shadow, of sound and void. It had no edges. It simply was. Navigation systems collapsed. Communications died, and once again everyone heard the voice. Silence came before all things. You screamed and created time. Now time must sleep. The voice didn't come from space or from the speakers. It came from the mind of every living being. Ava, aboard Prometheus, shouted over alarms. The Earth's pulses are rising! She's responding. The monitors showed the planet releasing waves of energy toward the void. Its frequency matched the entities perfectly. It was a conversation. Marcus turned to Elise. You see it? Yes. Her breathing quickened. It's a dialogue. Then the voice changed. Softer. Closer. You are not the error. You are the echo. Marcus whispered. The echo of what? The reply came as a collective whisper, so deep it made the ship's structure tremble. Of the first scream. In that instant, Earth shone with blinding light. Its core opened in a wave of pure radiance. Space rippled, and the entire fleet was swallowed by the glow. For a moment, everything ceased to exist. When Marcus opened his eyes, there was no ship, no bridge, no sound. He was elsewhere, an infinite field of liquid light. Before him, human shapes and shadows made of energy drifted gently. One approached. It was Chen Wei. Marcus fell to his knees. Is this real? She smiled. Real is only what the universe remembers. What is this place? The heart of silence, where sound dies and is born again. And Earth? He asked. She was always a bridge. A fragment left to remember what we were. Marcus felt the ground, not ground but energy, vibrating beneath him. What were we? Chen Wei looked into his eyes. We were the first. He blinked, confused. The first what? The first to speak, and therefore the first to be silenced. She placed her hand on his chest. Silence isn't the enemy, Marcus. It's the return and the memory of where we came from. And what happens to us? What always happens? You become part of the song. She smiled one last time. And the song never ends. Suddenly, everything dissolved. The light faded. The sound vanished. And when Marcus opened his eyes again, he was back on the bridge of humanity's wrath. Elise was alive, pale but awake. The monitors showed Earth calm, blue, pure, no shadows, no anomalies. She looked at him. What happened? It took Marcus a long moment to answer. I think the universe heard us. Outside, space was quiet, but not empty. A new sound moved gently through the silence. A melody, Earth's song. And somewhere in the invisible heart of the universe, silence smiled. The universe was at peace, but it was a different kind of peace. Silent, heavy, like the final chord of a symphony no one realized had ended. Earth turned, blue and whole, beneath the soft glow of a tranquil sun. From space, it looked like the same world as before, but something had changed. Something deep, invisible. Humanity's wrath drifted in low orbit, its systems unstable but still alive. On the bridge, Marcus Chen watched the planet. There were no signs of threat. No echoes of the colossal entity. No shadow. But he knew this wasn't the end. It was only the pause between two notes. Elise Moreau entered the bridge, her uniform torn, eyes weary. No hostile signals, sir. Everything's normal. Marcus nodded but didn't look away from Earth. Normality is always the most dangerous disguise. She crossed her arms. Sir, with all due respect. What was that? The light? The voices? Marcus took a long moment before answering. I think the universe remembered us. And we remembered it. Elise frowned. That's not an answer. No, he said. But it's the only one we have. In the days that followed, something extraordinary happened. Fleet instruments detected subtle changes in all life on Earth. Forests grew in perfect spiral patterns. Oceans formed luminous vortices of energy. And humans began to share the same dream. Thousands of identical accounts came from every corner of the planet. A field of liquid light, an endless song, and a woman with star-filled eyes whispering, "The song never ends." Marcus told no one, but he dreamed of her too. And in the dream, she called his name. Scientist Avon Kara, now on the surface, led the study of the transformations. Organisms are synchronized with the planet, she explained in a transmission to command. Even across continents, they share identical impulses. From orbit, Morrison replied, "Are you saying Earth has become a collective mind?" No, Ava smiled faintly. I'm saying it always was. We just never noticed. Marcus watched the recording in silence. Elise broke it. And the silence? He breathed deeply. Maybe it never left. Maybe it's just listening. At the lunar base, Hayes reported new phenomena. Magnetic fields shifting, gentle, constant gravitational waves. Nothing destructive, just harmonic. It's as if the universe is singing in unison, he said. No hostility, just presence. Marcus answered through the secure channel. Keep monitoring. If this is communication, we might still respond. Hayes gave a humorless chuckle. After all we've seen, you still want to talk to the universe? We always did, Marcus said. We just never knew the language. On the surface, Elise descended for the first time since the event. The atmosphere felt different, denser, vibrant, alive. When she breathed, she felt something she couldn't describe. It was as if the air recognized her. She walked to the site where Ambassador Chen Wei had died decades earlier, the place where it all began. The ruins were covered in glowing blue flowers, and at the center a sound, low, steady, almost like a heartbeat. She knelt and touched the ground. The soil vibrated. A voice echoed in her mind. The sound has returned. Elise held her breath. But not to destroy, to remember. She lifted her eyes and saw something on the horizon. Not a figure, but a presence. Light condensed into a human shape. The outline of Chen Wei. Elise froze. Is this real? The figure smiled. As real as the memory of a word. What are you? I am what remains of the human voice in the heart of Earth. And what do you want from us? Nothing. We already have what we needed. The voice was calm, almost maternal. Humanity was the echo the universe needed to remember itself. Tears filled Elise's eyes. So all of this, the war, the silence, the fear, all of it was the song trying to tune itself to the right melody. And then the figure vanished. But the sound remained, stronger, purer. Marcus received Elise's report in silence. When it ended, he rose and went to the ship's observatory. There he gazed down at the planet. The sound, now audible even from orbit, vibrated through the ship's hull, a single constant note. Ava appeared on the comm. General, we've found something. Go on. The frequency emitted by Earth repeats every 8 minutes. It's a numerical sequence. Meaning? When converted to binary, it forms a word. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Which one? Ava hesitated, her voice trembling. Beginning. In the following days, the frequency spread through space. Human satellites picked up identical echoes from distant regions of the galaxy. Dead systems began to transmit again. Forgotten worlds lit up. It was as if the universe were waking, note by note, world by world. Hayes transmitted from Luna. General, we've received responses from 12 systems we thought were extinct. The readings match Earth's exactly. Marcus frowned. The Hegemony? No, sir. They're new, or too old to have been known. Morrison joined the line. Whatever it is, it's spreading. Marcus replied, It's not spreading. It's remembering. Then came the final transmission. No source, no coordinates, no language, just sound. A voice, soft, feminine, human. The song began with you. Silence was never punishment. It was longing. The universe was waiting to hear the sound of life again. Marcus closed his eyes. He knew that voice. Chen Wei, you tried peace and showed the cosmos what happens when it fails. But now, you've taught something greater, that even silence can learn to sing. The transmission ended, but the sound remained, a single note woven into the background noise of the universe. Elise approached. General, what was that? Marcus answered with a faint smile. The universe, saying thank you. With no orders left to follow and no enemies left to fight, the Ghost Fleet was dissolved. The ships were left drifting in orbit, monuments to what once was war. Humanity began to rebuild, not in haste, but with purpose. Every city rose in rhythm with Earth's pulses. Every structure vibrated in harmony with the planet's tone. And when the first children were born under the new sky, something in them was different. They could hear the sound from birth. They needed no translators. The universe already spoke to them. Years later, Marcus Chen walked along a restored beach. The waves whispered softly, matching his breath. Elise joined him, smiling. How long has it been since you set foot on the ground? Since before the silence, he replied. She looked toward the horizon. You know what they say? That Earth sings every time someone is born. Marcus smiled faintly. And every time someone listens. He crouched, scooping a handful of sand, letting it slip through his fingers. When my sister said the song never ends, I thought it was a metaphor. And now? Now I think she was right. They stood in silence, listening to the wind. Then something changed. The sound of the sea grew stronger. The waves began forming luminous patterns. And on the horizon, a light rose, a point shining upward, echoing Earth's melody. Elise held her breath. "Another world?" Marcus nodded. Answering the song, they watched in silence as the light joined the stars, and the sound went on. A soft murmur that crossed the galaxy. The voice of Earth, the voice of the universe, the human voice, all singing the same note. The song wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. And this time, silence didn't come to erase. It came to listen. But this is only one of the many stories forgotten at the frontiers of time. If you've made it this far, subscribe to the channel Echoes of the Last Era to hear more tales of lost worlds, forbidden loves, and secrets hidden among the stars. Leave a like, share, and until the next echo.